They thought he just filled out insurance forms and took photos of fire damage. A boring job, checking boxes, estimating repair costs, telling homeowners how much money they'd get to rebuild their lives after tragedy struck. Michael Torres would show up with his clipboard and camera, walk through the charred remains of someone's home, take measurements, snap pictures, and disappear back to his office to file paperwork. To the insurance companies, he was just another independent adjuster. To the homeowners, he was the bureaucrat standing between them and their claim payment. Nobody looked at Michael Torres and saw what he really was. What they didn't know was that Michael had spent 17 years as an ATF Certified Fire Investigator, one of fewer than 500 people in the entire country with that elite certification. He could read burn patterns like other people read books. He could identify accelerants from residue patterns. He could determine ignition source, point of origin, and whether a fire was accidental or intentional within the first 10 minutes of walking into a burn scene. And the house fires he was adjusting weren't accidents. They were crimes. Professional arson, part of an organized insurance fraud ring that had been operating for years. Michael Torres was about to prove it, because some expertise doesn't retire just because you change careers. And some investigators never stop seeing the truth, even when everyone else is looking at paperwork. Riverside County, California. Suburban neighborhoods where families raised kids, paid mortgages, and lived the kind of quiet lives that insurance companies bet on staying uneventful. Michael Torres had been working as an independent insurance adjuster for 4 years, handling property damage claims for multiple insurance carriers. It was steady work, not exciting, not particularly well paid, but honest and predictable. After 17 years investigating arson for the ATF, Michael had wanted something less intense, less dangerous, less emotionally draining. Fire investigation had been his calling once. He'd joined ATF at 25, drawn to the scientific puzzle of understanding how fires start, spread, and behave. The certification process had been brutal. Hundreds of hours of classroom training, practical exercises, apprenticeship under senior investigators, and finally the comprehensive examination that the work had been meaningful but exhausting. Every fire scene represented lives disrupted, property destroyed, sometimes people killed. After 17 years, Michael had reached his limit. He'd retired from ATF in 2020, taken his expertise in fire investigation and applied it to insurance adjusting. Same skills, different purpose. Instead of building criminal cases, he was estimating reconstruction costs. Instead of testifying in federal court, he was writing reports for claims processors. The expertise was still there, just being used in a way that let Michael sleep better at night. Or at least that had been the plan, until the fires started showing patterns that Michael couldn't ignore. The first fire was in March, a 2-story house in a nice neighborhood, completely destroyed. The homeowners, the Hendersons, were devastated, but not home when it happened. The fire department's preliminary report listed cause undetermined, possibly electrical. Michael did his insurance assessment, walking through the destruction with his practiced eye. To most people, fire damage looks chaotic, random, impossible to interpret. But to Michael, every burn pattern told a story. This fire had started in the basement, near what used to be the electrical panel. The burn patterns radiated outward from that point in a way that looked almost textbook, too perfect, like someone had read about how electrical fires spread and tried to recreate the pattern. Michael took detailed photos, made careful notes, and filed his report. The insurance company paid out $425,000. Case closed. Except Michael couldn't stop thinking about those burn patterns. The second fire came in May. Different neighborhood, different insurance company, but Michael caught the claim because he handled multiple carriers. The Martins' house, another complete loss. Family not home. Fire department report,
Cause undetermined, possibly kitchen accident. Michael walked the scene and felt that familiar investigator instinct kick in. The fire had allegedly started in the kitchen, but the burn patterns didn't match grease fire spread. There were
insurance fraud, arson for profit, the kind of scheme Michael had investigated dozens of times for ATF. But Michael wasn't with ATF anymore. He was just an insurance adjuster. Nobody was going to listen to him about criminal conspiracies based on burn pattern analysis. Michael started investigating on his own. Not officially. He had no authority, no badge, no legal standing. But he had expertise and curiosity, and a deep-seated hatred for people who used fire as a profit tool. He requested files on other recent fire claims in the region, told the insurance companies he was doing pattern analysis for risk assessment. They gave him access without question, just another adjuster doing paperwork. Over 2 weeks, Michael identified 8 suspicious fires in the past year. All total losses. All with families conveniently absent. All in similar neighborhoods. All resulting in insurance payouts between $350,000 and $500,000. 8 fires, 8 patterns that looked professionally staged. 8 claims that investigators had accepted as accidents because nobody was looking closely enough. Michael did what any good investigator would do. He followed the money. He cross-referenced the homeowners, looking for connections. Different families, different backgrounds, no obvious links. But then he checked the real estate agents who'd helped them buy their homes. 6 of the 8 houses had been purchased through the same realty company, Martinez and Associates Real Estate. Michael dug deeper. 3 of the homeowners had used the same mortgage broker. 4 had hired the same general contractor for pre-purchase home inspections. The connections were subtle, but they were there. This wasn't random families committing insurance fraud independently. This was organized, a network recruiting homeowners, helping them buy properties, then burning them down for profit. The homeowners got their payouts and kickbacks. The organizers got their cuts. Everyone made money, and insurance companies absorbed the losses. Michael had seen schemes like this before during his ATF days. They were difficult to prove because the connections were carefully obscured. The participants were coached to act shocked and devastated, and fire investigations often couldn't definitively prove arson without confession or clear evidence. But Michael had 17 years of experience. He knew how to build cases. There was a pause. "You're still investigating fires? I thought you retired to do boring insurance work." "The fires aren't boring when they're arson." Jennifer reviewed Michael's analysis over the next week. She brought in other ATF investigators, checked his burn pattern assessments, verified his connections between the fires. Everything checked out. "Michael, this is solid work. Federal quality investigation from someone working as an insurance adjuster. Why didn't you call us sooner?" "Because I'm not an agent anymore. I didn't think you'd take me seriously." "You're ATF certified. That certification doesn't expire just because you changed jobs. Your analysis carries weight. ATF opened an official investigation, with Michael as their consulting expert. He walked federal agents through each burn scene, explained the pour patterns and ignition indicators that local fire departments had missed, connected the financial networks that revealed the fraud scheme. The investigation expanded. More fires emerged. More connections appeared. The scheme had been running for 3 years, involved 15 properties, and had defrauded insurance companies of over $7 million. The arrests came on a Tuesday morning in September. Federal agents executed warrants simultaneously at 6 locations. The real estate broker who recruited participants. The mortgage specialist who helped secure fraudulent loans. The fire starter, an actual professional arsonist who'd been setting the fires for $20,000 per job. 3 homeowners who'd participated in the scheme. And the mastermind, Carlos Martinez, owner of Martinez and Associates Real Estate. A man who'd figured out that burning houses was more profitable than selling them. Michael was there for the evidence collection, not as an agent, he didn't have a badge anymore, but as the ATF's consulting fire investigator. Walking through Carlos Martinez's office, finding the files that documented the entire scheme, seeing proof of what his expertise had uncovered. Special Agent Walsh stood beside him. You know what's impressive about this? You cracked a multi-million-dollar organized crime operation while working as an insurance adjuster. Nobody was asking you to investigate. You just did it anyway. I saw burn patterns that didn't make sense. Couldn't ignore them. Insurance companies recovered some of their losses. More importantly, a scheme that had endangered entire neighborhoods, because even controlled arson can spread unexpectedly, was shut down. Michael Torres still works as an independent insurance adjuster. The insurance companies now know what he really is. An elite fire investigator with federal credentials who just happens to be filing their claims paperwork. His rates went up significantly. But more importantly, he's become the go-to adjuster for suspicious fire claims throughout California. When insurance companies see burn patterns that seem off, they call Michael. When local fire departments can't determine cause, they consult with Michael. When law enforcement needs expert analysis, Michael's phone rings. He testified before a state legislative committee about insurance fraud schemes. He trains insurance adjusters on how to spot arson indicators. He consults with ATF on active cases, bringing his expertise back into federal service without returning to the intensity of full-time agent work. You found the balance, Jennifer Walsh told him over coffee. Using your skills without burning out. That's rare in this field. I just wanted to adjust insurance claims and avoid the stress, Michael replied. Instead, you took down an organized crime ring while filling out paperwork. The burn patterns were wrong. I couldn't ignore that. And that's what makes experts like Michael Torres different. They can't turn off the part of their brain that sees what others miss. They can't ignore evidence just because they're not officially investigating. They can't stop being professionals just because they changed careers. Sometimes expertise doesn't retire when you change jobs. Sometimes skills developed over decades of specialized work continue serving their purpose, even from positions nobody expects. And sometimes the person filling out your insurance forms is one of fewer than 500 ATF Certified Fire Investigators in the country, still reading burn patterns and catching criminals. Michael Torres proved that professional expertise continues its mission regardless of job title, that investigators never stop investigating, and that the boring insurance adjuster might be the most qualified fire expert you'll ever meet. The next time you see someone in what seems like a simple job, remember Michael Torres, because professional expertise doesn't disappear